So first time being back for Aria Sky Suites in, I don't know, more than a year and a half. So we'll see how things go today. Check out the room in a little bit.
A few moments later. A few moments later.
So just got done playing Crapless at Aria for about 2 hours. It was 25 minimum the whole time. Table was empty when I started, and then eventually we got as many as about 5 or 6 people on it. Here we are. So I haven't been booking MGM for a while. Part of it was I don't get anything. All I get is the room. So I didn't want to tie myself down just to have a room when I don't need one, right? But when I saw the chance to book this is Sky Suites 2-bedroom penthouse suite, and it's not working. This is a legit 2-bedroom suite, not a connected room. Sky Suites are beautiful. I've posted a bunch of videos from various different Sky Suites before, but this is the first time that I am taking a look at the 2-bedroom suite. It's overkill, obviously, for myself, but yeah, so you guys are exploring for the first time with me. This is a strip view, so we'll take a look in a second. Anyway, going back to Crapless, I started off by myself and no good. First couple rolls, yeah, very short, and then I was in for 3,000. Went down to as low as 1,500. And then I had a really good roll, so got it all back. And you can see there's 2 full bathrooms. The nice things about these Sky Suites are they have steam showers. Never actually used it because I'm rarely in the room and I don't stay. But, you know, it's kind of cool, right? Just to check it out. Yeah, it's not the greatest view. At night it looks a little cooler because everything's lit up, but yeah, not much of a view. And this isn't going to be my preferred Sky Suite layout because the ones I really like are the ones with the panoramic view from the bathroom. So sitting in your tub, you get a nice view outside. That's cool. Anyway, so yeah, Crapless, up and down, up and down. I did roll the small early on, and man, I came within a little later. I came within 1 roll. I just needed a yo. And would have hit the all with the quarter on it, but didn't happen. Missed it. So the most I ever had was maybe right around even, back to 3,000. Eventually just tapped out. Bought in for a little bit more. Played, but yeah, while I was playing, I knew it. I've been mentioning that I just felt like MGM had, busted me too. They just haven't actually, come out and said it. They haven't come out and, named me like Venetian did. But it happened today while I'm playing. I can see the suits, kind of saying something amongst themselves, and I had the feeling, yep. So I didn't have my camera out or anything. Eventually, one of them came over and said, "Oh, just wanted to make sure that you are not recording." So, yeah, jig is up. The jig is up. Yeah. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. When the Bellagio floor manager came over, pulled me aside and said, I gotta put the camera away. That was sometime early December last year. Yeah, I think that's when it started going south. And I had mentioned that, I was at the table playing at Bellagio when I heard one of the dealers mention Vegas Day Tripper. I was like, oh, my ears perked up, but he's on the other side of the table, so I didn't really get to hear it. But yeah, he was talking to another player, just trying to figure out like who it is, because he's like, yeah, this guy, you know, plays here all the time. So, you know, I don't know who he is yet. So, yeah, yep, it caught up to me. But anyway, yeah, I had a couple chances at making something big. I had on that one roll where I was one short of hitting the all, I had pressed my ace deuce to 500. All the other extremes had 200 on it, and it was a pretty good one. But yeah, eventually, you know, I didn't bust out because I added on, but I left the table. I thought it was a good time to take a break. Now, before I came up to the room here, stopped by the high limit room, went to the roulette table because I had chips in hand, and then I did manage to hit my numbers back to back. Actually, first one was like an insurance bet. I had 100 per number on 10 of them and quarters on 4 of the numbers, and hit one just outside of my range, so I hit for a quarter. And put same bet out again, 100 per number on 10 numbers, 25 each on 4, so 1100 total in bets. And then I hit one of my numbers for 100 straight up, and then so that pays 3500, and I full pressed, so I put 300 per number, so I bet 3000 on the 10 numbers, and then 100, 100, 75, 75. So how much is that? So 3350 I bet, and then hit one of my numbers. So 300 pays 10,500. So yeah, I was in for, how much was I in for? I was in for 5,000 and I had 1,600. So I was down 3,400. So we're good. We're good. We are up, what, 8,000? Yeah, 7,900. I tipped like 75 to the dealers at the roulette wheel. Yeah, but anyway, that's my short recap. It's about 1:20 p.m. So I'll grab some lunch. I'm gonna maybe go to Bellagio, take a shot there. But yep, MGM is a bust now. But here's some good news to make up for it. I am getting filming permission set up at a different chain off the strip. So gonna be working on that. So the next time I come out here, it'll most likely be at one of those places. It's Aliante. Bluff, gave me the contact and said, hey, reach out to this guy, and if you need, I'll talk to him as well. So yeah, at least it's something, right? So Aliante is one of the Boyd properties, and yeah, and the guy is able to set me up with filming at a couple other properties as well within their portfolio. So we'll see. I'm trying to get intel on which properties are, going to be best suited for my needs. Good craps conditions, and I don't want them to be too crowded or too smoky. So yeah, so we'll be working on that. Okay, I'll be back.
A few moments later.
Alright, so one of the topics that I have been meaning to discuss is controversial topic, tipping, and tipping players in particular. I had actually discussed this in like 2 videos ago, but ended up cutting it out because that whole episode ended up being a little too long for my liking, and yeah, I respect your time, and it didn't have to be in that video, so I cut it out. So first of all, always tip your dealers, always take care of them. Now, there are exceptions. Some dealers actually do suck. I've mentioned how I stopped playing at certain places because just the dealer, I don't like being around certain dealers. If that's the case, just don't play there, walk away. But dealers, this is hard work for them. And I mean, craps dealing, it's got to be the toughest job in the casino, right? The most physically demanding, because, you know, you're not just standing there. You're constantly bending forward to make bets, pick up chips, you know, do this and that. You got to keep track of potentially, you know, 5, 6 different, you know, players on your side. If you're the stick man, you got, you know, chips flying in from everywhere. You got to control the pace of the game. You got to keep track of, you know, a bunch of things, right? So, yeah, it's not, they're not just sitting there looking pretty, you know. And having a good dealer really makes such a big difference. And that is why I primarily played on the Strip, because the properties that I liked playing at tended to have better dealers. You know, the nicer top tier properties do tend to be a little more, you know, selective in their, you know, dealers. Of course, you're gonna have a couple bad apples. Some people who are just kind of, I don't know, some places might have tenure or some sort of union issue or whatever, but for the most part, okay, the better, nicer properties tend to have better dealers. And yeah, so I don't need a comedian at the table. I don't need someone who's my friend. What I need is someone who's going to stay on top of the game, keep the game moving, protect the game, right? Protect me, and also, you know, make sure bets are handled properly. And of course, I don't want to have to second guess all the payouts. Now, dealers aren't doing crazy math in their head. You know, they're trained to deal in colors, right, and denominations, right? So they have, I think they call it keys, you know, how they quickly figure out what to pay. They're not doing, okay, I'm going to multiply this by 6 and add up. No, they're not doing that. For example, odds behind a 6 or an 8, you know, every, you know, nickel chip, like, you know, red, most of the time it's red, right? Every nickel chip gets an extra white chip, you know, dollar. So 5 pays 6. And then every, you know, quarter chip pays an extra nickel. And that's how they quickly calculate the payouts. And if you see a number that you're not used to, you break it down into units that you do know, right? So let's say someone has, you know, 175 in odds behind a 6 or an 8. You can always break it down, because 125 behind a 6 will pay 150, right? 5 quarters pays an extra 5 nickels, so that's 25 extra. So 125 plus 25, 150, and then you have another $50 bet. So then each quarter pays 30, and you end up with 60. So break it down into 125 and 50, and the 125 pays 150, the 50 pays 60. Boom, there you go, right? So that's how you you know, quickly handle the payouts, and you end up with the payout of 210. You might know that because maybe you bet that, but you know, that's not a common bet for me, right? Because usually if I have a quarter pass line and I'm playing at a place with the max 5x odds, you know, it's 125. So rarely will I have 175 behind. So, but yeah, but to keep things simple for myself, I tend to bet in units that I'm familiar with, so that, you know, when I get paid, it's like, okay, that's correct. Like, I don't have to try to run the math or break it down. But every once in a while, like, especially if I'm pressing my odds behind by a little bit, or, you know, or I'm playing at like a 10x odds place, like at Durango or something, then I get thrown off because I'm betting in units that I'm not familiar with. But again, I could always break it down to double check. And that's what the dealers are doing to keep it simple. But that's dealers. And dealers, hey, they're working hard. They're doing a lot of things for you. And with that, you might not appreciate good dealers, but when you have bad dealers, oh, trust me, you're going to hate playing there. So take care of your dealers, okay? And so back on the topic of tipping players. I brought it up because, so the episode where I last talked about it and I cut it out, I had gone to the Venetian and I bought in, and there was a new guy playing. So there was, like, one side of the table seemed pretty full, the left side, so I went to the right side. But then I noticed, oh, okay, just one guy's playing and then his buddies are just watching. So, you know, I went to the left side and I took a position at stick left 1 which is my preferred position. And then, you know, totally new, right? Totally new guy, because, you know, they're talking about things like, okay, do you want your hardways to be working on the come out or not? I mean, sure, you know, Vegas rules by default, hardways work unless, you know, you say otherwise. But then you know, the guy was asking like, oh, what about my, you know, bet on the 6, the place bet, you know, right? So, I mean, he was completely new. I think he has some sort of European accent, you know, so yeah. But the guys were just having fun, you know, they were cool. The guy, one of his buddies who was next to me, was asking me questions about my bets, because I was making my usual bets all over the table, right? And so he was seeing things that, you know, he's never seen. His buddies basically just pass line, maybe, you know, 2 place bets, maybe 3 place bets, and then sometimes, you know, a hard way bet. And then when he saw me make a certain bet, he might, you know, follow along, right? Tag along, just without even like knowing what I'm betting. He's just like, oh, okay, I want that same bet, which is fine, right? Because he's rolling, and if he hits it for me, hey, he should benefit from it too. So anyway, so he ended up having a really good roll, and I think during his roll, you know, I might have made like 1,500, you know, after the 7 out. Yeah, not bad at all, right? Because I think I bought in for 3,000 into the table, and you know, he colored up and he was leaving with like 400. I asked him like, oh, how much did you buy in with? He said 100. It's like, oh man, that's great. He just 4x his money, right? And he wasn't even betting crazy or really aggressive. He just flat bet on a couple things and happened to just hit. You know, he hit some points, he hit some, you know, inside numbers, and he maybe hit 1 or 2 hard ways. And I still threw him a quarter. It's never going to be a percentage of how much I win, right? Because you're not taking responsibility of when I lose my money. So it's not like you're entitled to any money from me. But it's like, hey, cool. Hey, you had a great run. You just 4 extra money, but here's another quarter for you, right? It's not a big tip, but like it made his day, right? And there was another occasion, and this one was also at the Venetian. There was a guy, it was a full table, and he must have been pretty new, but he basically just paid the pass line, like quarter minimum. So he just bet a quarter on the pass line, and he threw a lot of numbers, but not necessarily a lot of points, right? So he threw for a long time, but he might have collected, you know, $75, maybe $100 after, you know, he's finally settled down. Everyone at the table made money, and I don't remember how much I, you know, benefited, how much I made during his roll, but I know I gave him $50, and he was super happy because that was like pretty much what he had made, and you know, almost doubled his profit from his throw, right? And again, it was not I didn't tip him $50 because it was a percentage based on how much I had won or not. It was more the fact that, like, you know, he rolled, he didn't ask anybody for anything, he was just having a good time, and it kind of sucked that like he was walking away with like, you know, $100, right? So I gave him $50, and like, you know, it just made his day, right? Now, on the flip side, this one in particular was at the Mirage. Now, I wish I had started playing at the Mirage earlier, but I only started playing there, and I only played craps there maybe like 3 times, because I only started going there once the whole Hard Rock, you know, takeover happened, because I went there for a status match. I got the free like 250 or 300 dining credit and had a decent, you know, dinner at Heritage Steakhouse one night. Never took advantage of anything else, but you know, I realized, oh man, Mirage is actually nice, and it's basically same rules as MGM properties, and the dealers were good, tables were, you know, good, yeah. So, you know, I kind of wish that I had, you know, started playing there earlier. I mean, I played at Venetian all the time for years, but I just never crossed the street in that direction. You know, I would go from like Venetian to Harrah's, you know, Link, Cromwell, cross the street to Caesar's Palace, go to Bellagio and Aria, but I just never crossed the street directly from Venetian to the Mirage. But oh well, you know, too late. It's gone now. But yeah, at the Mirage, there was a guy. He had a nice roll. He ended up hitting the ATS bonus, right? And I was on it. Not a lot. Back then I wasn't betting that much on it, you know, but still, anytime we hit the bonus, it's nice, right? So yeah, I made a little bit of money, and I was tipping the dealers, and you know, the guy, you know, sees it, and he's all grumbling and complaining. He's like, oh man, you know, he should be tipping me. Like, the dealers don't do anything. I did all the work. Oh, come on. Seriously? Again, unless if you're willing to take responsibility for when you 7 out and lose people money, or whatever the case might be, right? Don't act like you're entitled to anything from anybody else, you know? You could have bet more, right? If you think that you did such a great job, like, why didn't you bet on yourself? Why didn't you believe in yourself enough to, you know, bet more then, right? I took that risk, and when the guy 7'd out, I lost a lot of money out there, right? So, yeah, but, oh well. Anyway, I actually shouldn't have given him anything, but I said, hey, here you go. I bet 555 on the bonus for him. I said, I mean, you know, if you think you did such a good job and you can do it again, like, you know, you can get that money for yourself. And I left. But yeah, typically, yeah, anytime anybody acts that way or says anything, I'm not going to give you anything. But, you know, especially for someone who seems to be kind of newer, or just, you know, only has a little bit of action and, you know, just, you know, having a good time and ends up making money for the table, like, you know, I want to give him or her something, right? Even yesterday, I mean, I benefited a lot from this, you know, my new buddy's roll. He hit the hard 8 multiple times, and again, I took the risk. I pressed it up. He didn't bet the hard 8 at all, even though he was rolling it, right? My 5 full parlay to 50 hit 450. Nice. I lost a bet to an easy 8 later, right? But I brought it back and I pressed it up again, and I ended up having 150 on the 8, which paid 1350. And, like, you know, he was all pumped up that I hit it, right? I bet it and I hit it. He came over and, like, you know, we gave each other a high five, right? And then I pressed that to 300. Man, that was when I should have gone to 500, right? But I didn't. I chickened out. I pressed the 300 and he hit it again. 300 paid 2700 for the hard 8. Yeah, afterwards, I think I gave him like 75 bucks. Hey, again, it's never going to be a percentage or anything, but I just showed him some appreciation. Also, you know, I had a little bit of time before I had to go to the airport, so it's like, hey, you know, did you have lunch yet? It's like, okay, then let's go eat. And like, I gave him some choices. We went to Javier's, got a quick bite to eat, you know, like, cool, right? So, yeah, it's not a thing that I do all the time, but, you know, it's just spreading the love, right? Again, I'm never going to tip someone if they ask for it. But, you know, if I just feel like it, you know, I'll throw something, right? But, got to take care of the dealers first, right? And then, since I'm on the topic of tipping, one other thing. You know, people tip cocktail servers really well on, like, in my mind, like, what would you call it? Like, out of proportion. Like, proportionally, I think people tend to tip cocktail servers a lot compared to how much they tip the dealers. But, what I also try to do is, you know, you'll sometimes see in my photos, I hang on to the smaller chips. It's not because I want to keep like that extra $3 or $4. When I'm in the restroom and someone's cleaning the restroom, I'll tip that attendant. When someone comes by while I'm playing and they're cleaning up the drinks and, you know, the ashtray out of the rail beneath the craps table, I tip that person. You know, I tip the attendant, like the doorman, the taxi guy, whatever, right? Taxi guys they get tipped, but I don't know how often they get tipped, but still, right? I try to tip the people who normally don't get tipped, right? And they're always super appreciative. Even though it's $1 or $2 from me, they're not the ones getting tipped all the time. You know, even though right next to them, you know, someone, you know, is bringing a couple drinks, and, you know, I've seen people drop $100 chip for the server, right? I mean, you know, it's just the way things go, you know? So, no judgment. If you want to do that, that's fine, you know? But, you know, think about the people that you normally don't tip either. The people who are trying to keep that, you know, casino floor clean, the restrooms clean. Because if you walk into the restroom and it's filthy, like, how do you feel, right? It's not good. It's gross. And those people are never appreciated enough. So, yeah, just think about it. Yeah, next time, you know, look around. Maybe take care of the people that normally don't get tipped, and you'll make their day. So, yeah, that's that.
A few moments later.
So, already spoke about getting approached by one of the pit bosses, right? Yeah. So, no question, MGM is on to me. They know me exactly who I am and that I've been recording at the tables. So, no more questions. After stopping by the room and getting some lunch, I went back to the Crapless table. So I showed the picture, or I showed the chips, right? From the earlier video. I had 2 $5,000 chips. They call them flags. I had 2 of those, and then the yellow chip. So, you know, 1,000 isn't enough to play with. And I didn't want to break the 5, but I didn't have a choice, right? So I bought back in for 5,000. And then played, had an okay roll here, there, but then, you know, a bunch of short rolls in between. And we had like 2 people, 3 people at the table, and, you know, it wasn't going that well. But I had made arrangements to meet up with somebody to play together, and he showed up, and he did see. Actually, no, I don't know if he saw a good roll from me, but the dice ended up with him, and so we had never met before. So I thought it might be him, but I wasn't sure because when I got his message, I think there was a delay. Reception is terrible inside the Aria, so yeah. But when I got the message, I thought he was still not at Aria yet. So when this guy, new player, joined the table on the other end, you know, I didn't think it was him. But I noticed the way he set up his dice, it was the 5-1-4-1. It's like mine, except he swaps each, you know, right? I put the 4 to the left. He puts the 5 to the left. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, wait, is that him? And then eventually, yeah, we said, hey, yeah, you know, so. But for a while, I didn't know it was him. And, you know, he had a decent roll. So, okay, good. In between guy, terrible. Dice come to me, and I actually had a really good roll going. And, you know, I think we were like 1-0. Did I hit one side of the bonus? I think I did. And, you know, we're like going at it. And while I'm playing, okay, I mentioned this before. I get very distracted when people stand in the hook, in that corner, because that's where I throw the dice. Even though there was a spectator like standing there, I was doing okay. But the problem was the guy was standing there for like a while, and then after I had just set a point, I didn't realize that he put a bet down. So when I didn't look out to, you know, the other side of the table. I'm looking at my own dice, right? I looked at, you know, right in front of me, set up the dice, grip it, and then I turned and I, you know, started my throw. And just as my arm is mid-swing, I realized, oh, there are chips there now, right where my dice have been landing, right in the hook. And I mean, I think I was too far. I couldn't stop my arm. I guess, yeah. So, but the thing is, because I noticed it while I was in motion, I know that my arm kind of flinched, or like I was either trying to go past the chips or something, right? Something different happened. And the dice went all the way to the base, like trying to skip over, you know, trying to make sure I cleared those chips. But say what you will, I had been on a good roll. I had been on a consistent roll until that very moment, because something happened to change my, motion. And unfortunately, I mean, it could have turned into a 2 or a 12 as well, but unfortunately my little hiccup there in the arm motion, sent the dice tumbling a little too far, and we ended up 7-ing out. Yeah, I was like, oh, come on. But so the dice go back to the new buddy that I met up with, and his second go at it, and boom, we're hitting numbers. And I mentioned it briefly in the tipping the shooter. He was hitting those hard 8s, and he was hitting extremes. We hit the small side of the bonus, and I had a quarter on the all, 10 and 10, so I got paid 300. I pressed it up to 50 on the small. We needed the 12 to complete it, but we weren't getting there. But he hit the 2, he hit the 3, he hit the 3 a couple times. I had the 3 pressed up to 500. He hit the yo a couple times. I had that pressed up to 500. And we had hit the 8, the hard 8 multiple times. So I had 1500 on the 8 and 500 on the hard 8. The 4 was at 500. So there's a photo that I took. No video, unfortunately. But yeah, so I don't quite remember if I ever pressed the 4 again up to 1,000 or not. But I know I collected at 500 once. So yeah, we had a good amount. We had a nice row going, and here comes the reason why I'm bringing this sequence up. So the last several rolls, he was hitting the 9 a bunch of times with the 6-3. He had hit the 10 as the point earlier as well, right? A 6-4, and he hit the yo along the way. And the last roll that I saw was the 6 was out in the open, and the other die came really close to the mirror, and I had to peek over, and we're like, oh, come on, because we want that 12, right? We want the 6-6, but it was a 6-3, a 9, and I love the 9, but at Crapless I don't really care. My 5 and the 9 stayed at like minimum, because, and the only reason why I was so aggressively pressing the 4 and the 8 were because we were also hitting the hard way with it. So when that happens, instead of just pressing a little bit, I'm like full pressing, because it's like, hey, I will take what the dice are giving me. So I took it, right? That's where I was making the money. I was making the money on always on the extremes, right? Hitting a yo for 200 gets paid 600. Then boom, I pressed the 500. I collected once. I know I collected once before, and then I went to 500. I collected on the 3 as well, ace deuce. The aces, I had 200. When it hit, get paid 1200, and I don't think I pressed it to 500. I don't think I did. And we never hit the 12, but I had 200 on it, just because what I was doing was, in the earlier stages, I was pressing across on the extremes when the extremes are hitting, or when like the hard 8 hit, I was pressing the 8 place bet, the hard 8, and I had more chips, right? I mean, one of the hard ways, the hard 8 with 300 on it, I got paid 2,700. So I'm putting that to work. So I press up the extremes, and later on when the extremes hit, and hey, I'm getting paid. So this was a beautiful roll. But after that 6-3, and the 3 like tumbled all the way and hit the mirror, I did not. So we're 1 away from the bonus, right? And sometimes I will turn off my bets and then start regressing. But because we were seeing a series of rolls with a 6 showing, I knew we were close, but also, it's like, hey, this is like the money-making opportunity. So I made a conscious decision not to turn off and not to regress. But the shooter, he told me afterwards, he actually regressed. He took down most of his bets, but I didn't realize it because there was a lot going on, on my side with my bets and my, chips and all of that, right? And he still had chips out there, and by this time we had other players too, so it's not like just the two of us. Otherwise I might have noticed it right away, but there were other people with other money out there. So I did not catch it. I did not catch that he had taken down several of his bets and just left the 8 up, because he's been hitting the 8. He had the 12 up, but he only had like a quarter on it, because we're looking for the 12 and whatever the point was. Almost always, if the shooter goes off, I follow, or you guys know I've done it in videos. I've talked about it. If there's a disturbance, if there's something that happens at the table, any kind of argument over payouts or bets, I go off, especially when we're so close to the bonus. But unfortunately, I was a little too, I had blinders on. I had tunnel vision. I saw those sixes landing on one, and I just wanted to go full throttle. So unfortunately, the next row after that 6-3 and the 3 hit, landing and hitting the mirror, it was a 6-1. What? Of course, we just needed 2 more turns, because 6 is on the opposite side of the 1. So, we could have had an amazing outcome. It was still a great roll, but again, if I had seen and noticed that the shooter had taken down most of his bets, I would have turned it off. And let's just count real quick. 1,500 on the 8, 500 on the 4, 500 on ace 2, 500 on the yo. That's already $3,000. And then I had like 240 or 300 on the 6, 200 on the 12, I think 250 on the 2. I had the 500 on the hard 8. I had I had a quarter plus whatever full odds. Point might have been a 9 or a 10. So yeah, I had easily over $4,000 out there working for me. That got wiped out. Got to pay attention, and I did not practice what I preach. Right? One of the things I've done often in my videos is when we're so close to the bonus, I turn off for a roll, and then I figure out, okay, how much I want to regress. I could have regressed to hundreds across, or maybe go heavy on the 8, right? Maybe leave 600 on the 8, hundreds across, or start hopping some numbers. But I didn't. I had tunnel vision. I really missed the opportunity to lock up that extra $4,000. Well, no, it wouldn't have been $4,000. I would have left the hard ways. I would have left the, but still, I would have saved like $2,500 to $3,000 easily, right? So after that, unfortunate, right? I did shoot right after him. I had maybe like 7-8 rolls. Nothing to really talk about. And then I colored up. I was in for 5,000, and how much did I end up with? I ended up coloring up for 12 and change. So I wasn't at 5 when that roll started. I was below it. So that might have been, it's more than a 7,000 swing. So it might have been, actually, I'm getting confused now. No. Okay, yeah. It's like a 6, okay. So about $7,000-8,000 increase, right, from my starting point when that roll started. Great roll. If we had hit the bonus, that would have been another $3,750 from the 25 on the all, another 300. That's $4,000 right there. I had 50 on the small, and we're on our way to hitting it again. So yeah, still an amazing day. I ended up positive 12,800 and change. Cannot complain, right? Especially the first time around when I took the break, I was down, but I ended up hitting my numbers on roulette, and then I ended up positive when I took the break, and then the amazing roll at Crapless, and yeah. So real quick, to go back to the whole tipping the shooter, I gave him $75, okay, and I had a quick meal with them at Javier's, and just hung out. I especially wanted to like give him something because he came all the way out to just meet up and play with me, and I think we were out there together like less than 2 hours, right? So it's like just showing some appreciation. Again, don't judge me like, oh, you should have tipped him more or whatever. I'm an open book. I put it out there. You've seen me do things, and you know that whatever I'm talking about, I've done it and I do it. I have some photos. I used to have videos, not so much, but yeah. So please, hopefully there's no criticism about you only gave him $75 when you made like $7,000. It's like, again, I lost over $4,000 when that seven came out. Okay, I risked my money to make it. There were other people at the table, same role, right? Did the other people make more than me, same as me, less than me? It all depends on your risk tolerance. Okay, so everyone's playing their own game. No one is responsible for how much you win or lose, right? I'm not holding people accountable for rolling a 0.7 out, right? I lose like minimum $500-$600 when that happens, but that's the way it goes. That's why it's gambling. So, but yeah, I just wanted to finish off the day, and yeah, great day, right? So yeah, gave me some new life. Now, some future plans, whatever. Okay, so Venetian, we're done. MGM, we're done in terms of filming. But I had already been avoiding MGM properties, right? Because I had that nagging feeling for like the past couple months. So at least it's been confirmed. I don't have to question it anymore. I don't have to think like, am I being paranoid or not? No, see, I'm not an idiot. I sensed it. I saw it. And while we were playing, the shooter, my buddy, he said he was wondering why there were 2 pit bosses at the table, and one of them wasn't even like watching the game. He said, yeah, that person was just watching you. Yeah, and I saw that person out of the corner of my eyes. I'm glad it wasn't during my role, because it would have distracted me. But anyway, that's the environment I'm playing in now, I guess. So yeah, I'm cutting back. I was already cutting back from MGM properties anyway, right? I don't get anything from them. And I was trying to shift towards playing at Caesars because I wanted to get some table free play. Venetian, things are a little awkward, so I'm going to chill for a bit. But here's some good news. Bluff, connected me with one of the managers at Aliante. So I am getting great. Hopefully I'm not speaking like ahead too much, like with the Win situation. I haven't heard back from Win yet, but anyway, Aliante, looks like I am gonna get set up with filming privileges. So next trip out, I'm probably gonna end up there. I've never been there. It's quite far, right, from the Strip. So I had never even heard of the place until I started watching like Bluff's videos. But it looks like a good, decent table and setup. So yeah, I'm gonna go out there and play, see how I like it. Again, I go to play first, right? And there were many trips like this year already where I didn't even bother filming, and the only reason why I took out my camera was because I hit the ATS bonus with the 100 on the yaw. I mean, I had to record that at least, right? But I'm okay with just playing because I'm going to play first. But again, yesterday's session was great, and the only thing missing was, of course, hitting the all, but not getting that on video, because it would have been a beautiful sequence, like being able to show like, hey, take advantage of the roll. Look, the hard 8s were hitting. Man, I was pressing it up, right? I'm pressing up the 8, hard 8. Take advantage of it. Press those extremes. It's not hitting, so I don't press sister numbers on the regular box numbers, but because for the extremes, I want more exposure. So when the extremes hit, I do press the other extremes, right? In anticipation of another one hitting. And so I don't want to miss out. That's why I work the extremes on the come out. That's why, I'll add, a horn bet or whatever, right? Because I don't want to miss out, because they are rare, right? They don't roll as much, but when they do, they pay out. So yeah, I don't press, 6 and 8 together. I tend not to press 5 and 9 together. Sometimes, just to get a head start, I'll press the 4 and the 10, like quarter pays 50. Then I might press 4 and the 10 together to 50 each, right? Just to get a little bit of head start. But typically, I don't press sister numbers for the box numbers, regular box numbers. But for the extremes, I think it's worth it, right? You might not want to, like, quarter on the 12 pays 150. You could full press to 175 on the 12 and then leave quarters on the others. But then the chance of hitting the 12 again before hitting the other numbers, right? Like, that's the risk reward. Of course, if it hits again, you're good, right? But you're more likely to, hey, you might almost hit the 12, but then it rolls over and you hit a yo. Like, you want to make sure you get that, you capture that opportunity. So yeah, so that's how I treat crapless. Yeah, a lot of times I don't even have, anything bet on the inside. And yeah, during that great roll, like, there were a lot of 5s and 6s that I missed out on in the beginning because I didn't have any I didn't have any bet on those. But again, my focus is trying to, get something going and feed the other numbers with the hits on the extremes. So eventually I'll fill out all the numbers and go from there. So I think that's enough. I was kind of like stuck in this, like, little bit up, little bit down for the last couple trips, but we got a nice breakthrough with the 12,825, I think was the final. Oh, wait, oops, sorry, I forgot. I wasted $30 at the airport playing video poker while waiting to board. Yeah. But anyway, still, I booked a nice win to finally kind of break out of that slump of 2,000 up, 2,000 down kind of deal. So yeah, so Aliante filming. So hopefully the next trip out, I'll be able to have a session out there, record it. Hopefully, it's a good one. Yeah, I mean, again, it's more fun when you see, like, the god rolls and, or it doesn't have to be like a 40-50 roller, right? Again, it could be 15 rolls, but then heavily concentrated on 1 or 2 numbers. And if you happen to, like, capture that roll and press at the right time, I mean, that's how you make the money. So I just want to, showcase some of that. And that's it. All right. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care. Don't get sick. And I hope to have more good updates coming soon. Thanks, everyone.
Time ticking, Mercury climb, dice flicker, shot calling, counting time, parlay the horn, stack chips, book the win, counting odds, pay the hard ways, I'm him, hands high, dice in flight, ATS bonus, 9, 10, no 7 in sight, platinum status, next shooter up, make it count, no doubt, mind sharp, stay focused, no 0.7 out, I am notorious VDT, feel the heat, rolling dice, ATS win so sweet, felt the highs, seen the lows, 10 bands deep, stack chips, secure the bag, no retreat, one more roll, one more spin, manifest destiny, chasing that high, yelling mustard, it's insanity, mind sharp, cuts checks, play the day walker, monster roll, pay him, the day tripper, locked in, all gas, no second guessing, full press, line bets, no time for stressing, chips down, rack check, premeditated action, calculated precision, decision, chain reaction, chess moves one step ahead, always striking, read the board, know the odds, intuition firing, high stakes, strategic, fully committed, master the game, fearless, keep it 100, snake eyes, ace deuce, full parlay, press extremes, buckshot, collect all day, no hesitation. hesitation, yes motivation and full control. Hitting repeaters, book the win, bank roll swole. In the city of dreams, Sin City was for real. Chasing gold, pockets flush, strong like steel. Day is over, cash out, planes in the sky. Jordans on feet, airport running, time to fly. I've seen winners turn to ghosts lost in the night. Stacked too high, thought they'd never lose sight. But Vegas don't love you, just loans you a dream. Take too much, it'll snatch back everything. Our showtime is still chasing the high. Empty hands, but that hope won't die. Told myself, nah, that won't be me. But damn, that gambler's life still calling me. I am notorious VDT. Feel the heat, rolling dice, ATS win so sweet. Felt the high, seen the lows, 10 bands deep. Stack chips, secure the bag, no retreat. One more roll, one more spinach tallies. Chill reach time. Only the players do. Some walk away, some fade away, some they stay till they got nothing left. Not me, though I know the game, I take mine and not leave until next time. Until next time, until next time. Vegas doesn't change, man. Only the players do.